Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you and myself back to a new edition of the Seaman Cinema Sit-Down. That's right, folks. I went on another hiatus. I thought I was back finally after New Year's, and I disappeared again. Was out in Vegas for 5 days, celebrating a buddy's bachelor party. We had a really, really great time, but there was no time to get any videos up. But, that being said, before we left, and then on the flights, saw a bunch of movies. So if you've been missing the Seaman, guess what? You're about to get a whole lot of them. I got a bunch of things coming for you guys I'm really excited about. So let's jump right into it. You know the deal. Pull up a chair, take a seat. Tonight I am talking Darkest Hour. That's right, Gary Oldman's potential Oscar-winning performance as Winston Churchill is amazing. Oh God, it absolutely blows you away with how good Gary Oldman is in this movie. Oh man, he's so good. Carries the whole movie. Really makes an enjoyable film. He is, right now, it's no shock to me from what I've seen of the award season movies. He's got to be the front runner because this performance is unbelievable. But before I go crazy, praising Gary Oldman, you know what I like to do. I like to start with the bad, end with the good, leave a good taste in your mouth. So, bad, not a whole lot here because this movie is really a one-man show. And that could be a bad thing if the performance wasn't very good. But it's not. The performance is very good from Gary Oldman. And being a one-man show, there's not a lot to nitpick here. I would have liked to have seen more for the supporting cast to do because they are all excellent. Kristen Scott Thomas, who plays his wife Clemmy. Ben Mendelsohn, who plays King George VI. Lily James plays his typist, Elizabeth Layton. They're all fantastic, along with a whole slew of other people who show up in the movie. But there's not a ton for them to do because this is the Winston Churchill vehicle. And it's not a bad vehicle to be in because Gary Oldman does such a good job. But it's a risky move because if that performance doesn't play right, you don't have anywhere that you could save it, right? You can't be like, well, yeah, Gary Oldman, oh gosh, that wasn't very good. But, this was awesome, this was awesome. There's not a ton. Really not a bad thing, like I said, because Oldman's so good. But I would have liked to have seen him interact more specifically with those three characters. You're kind of limited because of the time period they picked, and it's a very specific time period. So you don't get a lot of stuff, that I would have liked to have seen too, like Churchill interacting with the British people. We get that once, and it's fantastic. But if you know anything about Churchill, his interactions with the people, there's so many stories and funny things that he said that would have been cool to see in the movie, but we couldn't because we're limited by the time period. Same here. I would have liked to have seen him interact more with his wife or with Elizabeth Layton, because you get a different side of Churchill around those people. And it really, it kind of really brings you to a place that kind of digs deep in what was going on for him, because we all know just what happened publicly. I think they do a really, really good job with all that stuff. But like I said, just not a ton to do for the supporting cast. But I'm nitpicking. I really am, because this movie is really, really good. The one thing I can say, too, the pacing is a little slow. Like I said, it's a period piece, and it's a very well-done period piece. But if you're not into those types of things, if you're looking for action, we're in World War II, Churchill did all these things, you're not going to get any of that because it's strictly all around Churchill. So if you're not into the political back and forth, it's a very verbal movie, a lot of exposition. But yeah, the pacing is kind of slow in the middle, and you might kind of fall out of it here and there. But if you're not a person like that, and you like period pieces like myself and one-man show type performances that are really good, you're going to thoroughly enjoy this film because Gary Oldman is amazing. But they do a lot of good things besides just Gary Oldman. Oldman, just from the Churchill aspect, is unbelievable. From the cigars to the scotch to the way he walks, the way he looks, the way he talks, everything about him is just so on point. You forget you're watching Gary Oldman. If not for the eyes. Gary Oldman's got very distinguished eyes. When you see those eyes, you're like, oh, there's Gary Oldman. But outside of that, man, you really feel like you're watching Winston Churchill. It's almost like being a fly on the wall, seeing stuff that no one else should have seen, because he's just so believable as the character. It's, for me, probably his best performance, maybe ever. And he's definitely my Oscar frontrunner right now, because he is that good. But there's a bunch of other stuff in the movie that's good. Like I said, the supporting cast is really well. With the limited amount of stuff they have to do, they do some really good things. The score, also, really, really awesome. Like I said, there are some times where you feel like you might be kind of drifting in and out, and the score, if it's not Oldman pulling you in, the score pulls you right back into the movie. It picks up in a way where you almost feel like you're about to go into some sort of a battle, and in reality, you're just getting ready to go into a room and listen to a bunch of politicians argue with each other. But it gets you psyched. Like, you get kind of, like, you inch up in your chair, you're like, oh man, what's about to happen? The score is really, really engaging, and it keeps you gripped, and leads you right into great moments from Gary Oldman. So I thought the score was awesome. There's also two scenes I really like that kind of bookend this movie, and it's the way it's shot. I just thought it was really cool. It's almost like from his perspective inside his car as he's on the way to places. And it kind of just pans slowly across, and you see the British people. And the way you see them at the beginning, the way you see them at the end, mean different things and kind of fuel what's going on in Churchill. I thought that was really cool. I really liked those two shots specifically. And the speeches. Oh man, the speeches. I tell you, I've always been a big fan of the Inches speech from Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday. Like that, you throw that on, get pumped up for sports or whatever I was doing. Was always ready to go with that. I might have to replace that. Because, man, the speeches he delivers in this movie, they just get you fired up, man. Like, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to go. I'll go wherever you want to go, Winston Churchill. And that's so key, because that's what Winston Churchill was, man. The way he delivered things to the people and to, his cabinet and other political people that he was with, the House. And, when he delivered all of those things and the power, with his speech delivery. And Oldman nails that, man. You get fired up watching that stuff. I thought that was amazing. I also really like the way they kind of bookend this movie with King George, too. Like I said, a little bit to do. Ben Mendelsohn, so good. He kind of has a viewpoint at the beginning of the movie and has a viewpoint at the end of the movie. And they kind of shift. And the way they shift is kind of the flow of the shift in the movie towards how people regard Churchill. And the last time we see him leads in to the best scene in the movie. Now, this is a non-spoiler review. If you've been watching for the last 7.5 minutes or so, I'm not spoiling anything. But this might be a minor spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, plug those ears. He kind of gives Churchill some really important guidance and kind of propels Churchill to take the underground for the first time since he was a kid. And he interacts with the British people. And that interaction is by far the best scene in the movie for me. And what he gets from that interaction. He interacts with these people, and just the way they're surprised that he's on the train, to the way he engages with them, and then they feel like, wow, he's like asking me things. And then he takes that information and propels that into the biggest and best speech of the movie. The biggest and best speech maybe of Churchill's career. And maybe one of the most important speeches of all time. I mean, if England backs down on Hitler and the Nazis, world could have been in a lot of trouble. And that moment kind of spurns Churchill to, we're never going to surrender. And it leads right into, ironically, Dunkirk. It's like the movies were dropped at the wrong times. Because if you watch them back to back, it's almost like one full, awesome, long war movie. You watch Darkest Hour, it would take you right into all of the action and war stuff you don't get in Dunkirk, which I thought was kind of cool. To see two movies in the same year come out talking about the same stuff, but from two different perspectives. But yeah, man, that last scene, that last 15, 20 minutes of the movie are just, like I said, for me, if you can leave a good taste in my mouth at the end, you've got me. And this movie definitely did that. Gary Oldman's just going to leave a good taste in your mouth the whole time. But the end, boom, power punch to end it, spectacular. So that's all I really got to say. I know it's been a while, but you guys know what to do now. I want you to hit those comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Did you like it, dislike it? How great was Gary Oldman? If you haven't seen it, have I enticed you to go check out The Darkest Hour? I hope I have. Let me know what you thought of the video all around. If you liked it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And as always, if you're not part of the squad, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And then hit the little bell so you get alerts every time I make a new video. So, for the C-Man Cinema Sit Down, I am the C-Man, signing off.